Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for August 10th, 2021. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is a webcast and podcast where we dig deep into the clutter that stands between people and the lives they want to be living. We aim to make sense of where so much stuff comes from in the first place, and we offer strategies to slow down the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we choose to keep. We rely heavily on the questions and topic suggestions we get from you, our viewers and listeners.
If you're joining us in Zoom for the first time, you can share your comments and questions via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gayle gets to them before we move on to another topic. We're streaming live on Facebook as well, so you can share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. And during the show every Tuesday, you can also reach us by phone by calling 669-900-6833. Use meeting ID 993-419-863 and password clutter to join the meeting. We're going to start as we usually do by following up on our last weekly tittle. This was from our show 2 weeks ago, and the assignment was called Wonderful Time, Wish You Were Here. The task was to refresh your travel toiletries kit, to stage a packing area for an upcoming trip, or if you didn't have a trip planned, to make plans for a fabulous staycation. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and Facebook who tackled the tittle over the last 2 weeks. Please let us know in the comments. And Gayle, since you're about to hit the road for a visit to North Carolina and Tennessee, I thought I'd ask, what's the status of your travel preparations?
Oh, they're so exciting. The status of my preparations are, I'm doing okay. So I did start laundry, like I recommend often. I started laundry over the weekend and I caught all my laundry up so that I have things to pack. And I have been making arrangements with cat sitters and getting all that lined up. And I did that last week. I have not pulled my luggage down from the bathroom to stage it. That's actually for tonight. So I am going to be doing that tonight because I have to do a cat sitting training and I have to take them off to show another cat sitting job. I'm subcontracting a cat sitting job out. So tonight is all about cat sitting training. And then I am moving on to packing the luggage. So I have the stuff ready to pack. I just need to get my luggage out. So I'm doing okay. I don't leave until midday tomorrow. And so I'm going to be doing I also have on my list take the trash out, take the recycling out, clean the litter boxes, that kind of stuff. And I do those things the morning of so that they're fresh when I leave the house. And so those are on my list of things to do. So I'm sort of on my way. If all things were perfect, I would have a little bit more time. But who doesn't ever say that, right?
Right. Yeah, I understand. I got to the end of the time available and before I got to the end of my list, but you just reach the point where you say, okay, and this, that, and the other will wait until after the trip.
Right. It wasn't a good idea to get it up front, right?
Connie says, not only did the tittle with the travel bag, but also my handbag.
That's a very good thing. And handbags, they always need refreshing, right? So if you took the travel as an opportunity to refresh your handbag, and actually that's a good thing to add into travel prep. You carry around a whole bunch of stuff in your regular life that you probably don't want to carry around on vacation. And you can always make that purse weigh, 5 pounds less just by taking out the excess stuff that you don't have to have on vacation.
On a trip some decades ago, I got mugged and had to replace everything in my wallet. And so one of my travel prep things, not that you're particularly more likely to get mugged traveling than, in some places it is higher risk, but one of the things I typically do is clean out the wallet, take out everything that doesn't need to go on the trip.
Yes.
The stuff that, cards you don't use on a day-to-day basis. And
if you have your social security card in your wallet, take it out.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Things that don't really need to be on that trip with you that you like to have in your wallet all the time in ordinary times. Karen on Facebook said, for the weekly tittle, I opened my suitcase and found things that have been there from my last vacation 2 years ago.
Surprise. Well, and I actually advise people that when they have a bunch of things that they would normally take on a trip, that they store them in the luggage anyway. Like if you have a favorite neck pillow, or you take a little pillow that you sleep on your trip, or if there's something specific that you only use while you're traveling, that you just leave it in the luggage, so that when you open it back up, it's already there to be dealt with, and it's not something that you have to go and gather around the house. It's a great way to stash and hide sort of awkwardly shaped things that need to go on your trip, and let them be in the luggage and just live there.
Yeah. Claire reported, I refilled the cosmetic bottles, meds, etc., but did not make a packing staging area. I did, however, make a packing list customized for my needs that is a Word document I can use for every trip.
There you go. You just reprint it and check it off again. That's excellent. Good. And if it's in Word, then you can go in and edit it as you have trip experiences, and you decide, oh, I should add this. I can take that off, whatever. So it's a living, breathing document. Good for you. There's also one in our list here that says, we got a lot of great comments on the episode. One of our favorites came from Diane on YouTube, who said, I love the feeling of going to a hotel and having clear spaces. I don't want to bring in all my stuff and spread it out everywhere. I pack what I need, and just writing down a list of what I need is in itself a wonderful exercise in seeing what I don't need. I thought that was it's a good exercise to realize that when you go stay in a hotel, you live with a much smaller subset of stuff, and you can still survive. So travel reminds you how little you actually have to have to function.
Yeah. And I think it's really tempting to leave too much to the last minute and then prepare and pack in a big panic and
overpack.
And you're sort of not leaving yourself enough time to relax, if you start at that kind of level of stress. We had talked for months about the trip that I just got back from, and lots of ambitious plans for cooking and big meals. And then as the time got close and we prepared our list of things that had to go in the car, we also decided in about the week before we left that one of the other people in our group was going to ride with us. So suddenly we had that much less room in the car. And so I just completely scaled back plans about taking stuff to cook with. I just sort of decided, whatever they have in the house is going to have to do. And it'll be okay. It'll be okay. It'll be a little bit of an adventure, I think.
Right. Sometimes you just got to make do with what's there, right?
Yeah. And it was fine. And since it was 4 couples, including 3 serious cooks. And so we ended up with duplicates of, we had 3 times as much buttermilk and parchment paper as we could possibly use in a week. And
I just have to tell you that parchment milk is never on my travel
parchment
list.
Paper and buttermilk.
They're never on my travel list ever.
Yes, I would think a lot of people probably do not require.
That is such a Gumnick thing.
Hey, we had freshly made scones.
I know, but your food is totally awesome. It's totally true.
Okay, we should probably get to our main topic. And that is, there are critical areas of our home that just invariably seem to draw clutter. For today's featured topic, Gayle's going to explain why problematic spaces collect so much clutter, and we're going to suggest some strategies for troubleshooting these special organizing issues.
So today, I thought we'd cover where people go wrong when they try to organize particular spaces and the tips for avoiding those traps. So these are the areas where clutter appears as if by magic, and areas that never quite work after we set them up. I see these problem areas over and over, so it's not just your house. These areas lend themselves to being a problem, and hopefully forewarned is forearmed. So first up, let's talk about the kitchen. So issue number one with the kitchen, putting the least used dishware on the lowest shelf in the easiest to access cabinet. The perfect example of this was in a house with two small boys. The wedding china had been put in the lowest shelf of the upper cabinet closest to the sink. So the only thing the little boys could reach was the wedding china, and enough said. So the solution really is, that's a narrow focus for a broader problem. There are only so many cabinets in the kitchen, and only part of those are easy to reach. So the wedding china doesn't belong on the easy to reach shelves. Before you put anything away in a new kitchen, decide what items need accessing every day, find them and put them in the easiest to reach cabinets. Then work up and down from there. So if you run out of room before you run out of kitchen gear, at least the most used stuff will be in there already. And then you can find alternative spaces for other things. The bottom line is, people unpack kitchen gear with the thought that this is kitchen stuff, it must go in the kitchen, and they find the first available cabinet and start putting things away. But if you don't give yourself access to all of the things that you use every day, you're going to run out of cabinets way before you run out of kitchen stuff. And you will get to the box that has the dinner plates in it, and you won't have any place to put them away. So imagine in your head that the wedding china does not need to be easily accessible, and go find the things that do need to be accessible first. And if your kitchen is already set up, as one would expect, then maybe rethink the process of where everything is right now and set it up so that the plates that you get every day, the pots and pans that you use 80% of the time, the silverware that you use every day, the glasses that everybody reaches for every day, those are all in the best accessible places. And then move the rest of the stuff out of the way so that it's not so hard for you to do your daily work in the kitchen.
I think a great algorithm in the kitchen is, if you have to move something out of the way more often than you need access to that thing, it's in the wrong place.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
so if you have to take these, you know, you hardly ever use colanders, but the colanders are right there in front of something else that you use all the
every
time.
week. Yeah.
It's time to rethink that.
Yeah. And I think people don't register sometimes how often they're moving things to get to what they want, which is why I suggest putting the things that you use first and making sure that there is breathing room in there so that it's easy to pull the plates down for dinner, and it's easy to put the ones that are in the dishwasher away quickly. If there's a million things and you have to do Tetris to fit it into the cabinet, it just exponentially grows the amount of time you have to invest in putting the dishes up or getting ready for dinner. So concentrate on making sure that those things work easily, those spaces, those cabinets that everybody can reach, work easily for your family. And then everything else can go around the edges of the spaces, the zones that work every day.
Sarah says, I'm going to try to rearrange my kitchen cabinets. I think those half shelves will come in handy, the ones made of wire.
Yes,
And
they do.
Yeah, those, I think they're fantastic. I use those a lot.
But don't go from the top of the rack up to the top of the cabinet.
Right.
You got to give yourself some breathing room, the ability to grab things easily and quickly. And so anything that slows you down makes it harder to get things in and out, and increases the capacity of you to be annoyed while you work. And so anything that reduces your annoyance factor is good. And some of that is, it's quick and easy to grab. You don't have to think hard about it. You don't have to stop and unbuild or very carefully slide in the last plate because it just barely fits. You don't want to be that crowded. So just keep that in mind. Okay.
Samudra says, I use colanders constantly. And I do too. That was a bad example. Maybe a better one would be like, if you have to move the sifter out of the way all the time, or the
coffee grinder.
Well, no, the coffee grinder has to live on the counter. The coffee grinder can't even be stored inside a cabinet because it gets used so frequently.
That's how you know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. In my house, that's not an issue. So This is how you have to evaluate your own family's use of things and make sure that those things you use all the time are easily accessible, no matter what. I just have a very clear picture in my head of this cabinet that was basically just to the right of the sink and above the dishwasher. And the entire cabinet was full of wedding china all the way across. And a big, all the stuff that they did not want the 8-year-old boys touching, right?
Right.
And so it was impossible. The boys couldn't get a plate out and make themselves a sandwich. They couldn't get their own snack because they couldn't get to any plate that was appropriate for them to use. They couldn't get to a cup and pour themselves their own drink because they couldn't get to the cups. The cups were way over their head and way inaccessible. And then when they had people, like the maid was coming to help clean, and because the woman was having chemotherapy, she would come and put things sort of wherever she could wedge them in, because all of the things that everybody could reach were completely full of china. And so that one has just stuck in my mind. It's the perfect example of, oh my God, who thought that was a good idea? And it was the first thing that I fixed. I went straight into there, pulled it all out. I got up on a ladder, got on top of the counter, and there was cabinets way up at the top of the ceiling. And I put all the wedding china up in the air. So A, the boys couldn't destroy it. And B, nobody that was emptying the dishwasher was putting things in and around and on top of the wedding china to destroy it either. And it solved a whole bunch of problems, just freeing up that lower shelf. One of my favorites. Okay, so issue number 2 in the kitchen: paper pileups on the kitchen counter. The surface area of the kitchen that is not convenient for food prep is often the new parking place for paper. It gets stacked where no one's trying to cut up veggies, so it never has to be uncovered. If the island is 4 feet across, no one can reach the middle of it to work there, so the paper piles migrate to the center of the island. If there's a kitchen desk counter, the paper piles up there. If there's a corner of the counter that isn't easy to work on, paper piles are seated over there. When the maid cleans, she stacks it up. If you're wiping the counters after preparing a meal, you wipe up to the paper piles because the paper is where the food prep is not. So the solution for this is, it's time to notice what has collected there. You got to deconstruct that paper pile and find out what lands in the spot. Those are the papers that need a capture system. Is the mail being dumped there? Are you stacking your reading material? Is this a reflection of not dealing with the mail every day? Can you at least deploy a box to capture the paper? Then when the box is full, you get triggered to deal with the mail. It's likely that several different functions are reflected in that paper, and you need the stage 2 systems for each type. The magazines are supposed to be over here. The bills to be paid are going to be over there. The functions to track on the calendar go here. Doing nothing with the paper piles but bringing them in the house and making a pile is the first and the least complete step for handling that paper. It's time to figure out what comes after that for each type of paper you're parking. And this means that you have to go through the process of dealing with your mail and deciding that, okay, I have these 5 types of paper that end up in the middle of the kitchen island, or they end up at the kitchen desk, or they end up in the corner counter that's the farthest away from the sink. And that paper just sits there, and then everybody ignores it. And then somebody puts it in a box and puts it in the closet because guests are coming. And then somebody has to pay me to come and undo it all later. So at the very least, stand there and filter that paper for what is now trash, and then identify what kinds of paper you're saving. There's probably a whole bunch of stuff that if you just spend 5 minutes and open and throw away, it will shrink a bunch. And then you can find, these are bills I'm trying to keep up with. These are announcements about the kids' school event or new dates for the party or what's happening at Christmas time, things that you need to go put on the calendar and keep up with the piece of paper to put on the calendar, or the family calendar, I mean. And then there's going to be other types of paper that need different systems to manage them. And so A, making sure that you have a system, a secondary system for those papers, and B, going through the process of filtering the pile and putting them the rest of the way into their systems. This is a step that gets lost when people are seeding those piles and making them happen. It's short and sweet to throw it all in the pile, but eventually that pile is going to teeter and slide off into your work area. And so it's not really going to work. Some people like to put things in a container, and then when the container gets full, then that triggers the release to go deal with it. Some people find that the container just gives them a space to make the pile taller. So if a container works for you to help contain it and keep it from getting too big, great. If the container is no such barrier to you, then it means you have to do the work more frequently, turning it around, getting it processed, getting it out of there again.
Sue says, I have wedding china. I dislike it. It takes up prime real estate in my kitchen. I want to get rid of the whole set. It's worth nothing to others. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Go put it in a resale. Go put it in a resale store. If it doesn't sell, it'll likely be donated. If it does sell, you'll get a little bit of money, but basically if you put it in a resale store, you will put it in front of a walking audience of shoppers, and you have no such audience at your house, and it will get it out of the way. And you can also consider, if you would like it better if there was less of it, like if you kept servers for 4 or 6 instead of the 10 or 12 that you have. And so some people can get happy about that china by shrinking the volume, and some people can get happy letting it go 100%. And so it's totally up to you. You can also, in the United States, you can send it to Replacements Limited in North Carolina. They're basically a massive warehouse for china. So they buy it from you super cheap. They resell it as a secondary item for people that are looking to fill in their own pattern. They broke something, they do replace it, whatever. It won't be, you're not going to get rich doing it, but you will then put it in front of a bunch of people that might be looking for china by going to Replacements Limited. So you just have to be super careful when you pack it up. It really needs to be packed well. China doesn't travel well. So it has to be very, very well packed. So you're gonna have to spend some money getting it packed to get it out there. Either way, the local solution is a resale or consignment store. The very targeted audience solution is to send it to Replacements Limited in the United States. So let's switch to the main entrance to your house. And by that, I mean the one that you use every day, not the one that your guests come through. So for an apartment, it's likely the same, but for many houses, those who live there come in through the side or the back entrance to the house. So the clutter hotspot is at that entrance, not actually at the front door. So issue number 1, coming in through the laundry room or the mud room creates a drop zone at the entrance. Since it's the laundry room or mud room, it doesn't have to look pretty, right? Stuff gets dumped there without a thought, and it's treated like the garage inside the house. So anything you want out of the way elsewhere gets parked in this room. And now every time you come into the house, you have to crawl over an obstacle course. Kids' backpacks, dirty laundry, a large pack of paper towels, and 47 pairs of shoes. I can see it in my mind's eye right now. I did have a husband call me to the house to do an assessment, and his biggest pain point was at the back door, which was a laundry room on the right and a cabinet set on the left. And the 5 of them were coming through that entrance every day. And they had shoes for 5 people and backpacks for 3 kids and extra toilet paper in big packs and all the dirty laundry. And it was like they just came home and walked into complete chaos as they came in the house. And of course, it wasn't the door that the guests come through, but it was the door that they went through more than one time every day. And it was a nightmare. When I walked in there, I was like, oh my God, so overwhelming. And this is not the way that you want to be greeted with your front door, right? Like, you don't want to come in. It's super stressful for people, particularly who are visually overwhelmed by the sight of the clutter, to come, and they come home from a long day at work, or they come home from being out running around errands or whatever, and you walk in the back door and it's like, oh my God, blast. You just get immediately assaulted by your own house. So this is a perfect area where people create chaos, and it is a really good area to try to address and clean up for your own mental health and well-being. So the solution here is, this is no different than not being able to walk into the closet because the floor is covered. So this is a pathway. It's not a storage unit. It's the pathway for your whole family to come home, and it needs to be clear. If you burst into the house in a cacophony of people and bags of stuff, then you can't let everyone drop everything and run out of the room. This is not the end of your trip out. You have to come in and put everything away. So there needs to be a system for storing the shoes if they belong there. And it's not a closet, so it can't hold 6 pairs of shoes for each person. And each kid needs a place for their backpack to hang instead of hitting the floor to be underfoot. Jackets, raincoats, coats, umbrellas, sweaters, they all need a place to be hung up or racked. And there may not be room here to do that. Consider whether these items can be accommodated here or need to be hung further in the house. Don't drop the shopping here. It needs to come in and be put away. Even if you're tired, even if dinner awaits, enlist help to do it if they're complaining about food. But if you don't give 10 minutes to putting up the shopping, it'll immediately become a problem wherever it lands. And I think we all have that sensation of, oh God, I'm finally home. Huh. And you let go of everything where you stand. But the problem is that if you don't circle back automatically, if you're not very good about circling back, then you've just created chaos where you let it go and then you don't come back and clean it up. So the better solution is to not do your release and, oh my gosh, thank goodness I'm home, sigh, until you've come all the way in and put everything away. It's often the shopping that gets on the floor and the kids' backpacks that they let go of. And it takes 10 minutes to come in the house and put everything away. You have to spend a little bit of time to put it up. But if you do it, then it will be easy for you to come in and relax fully. And then the person that comes in behind you next will not be climbing over an obstacle course to get in the house. And I think that's the biggest thing. It really is assaulting when someone has been out all day and they come home to Tornadoville. And so don't leave them a Tornadoville to look at. Okay, issue number 2, those pesky purses and wallets and keys and today's mail. We know you just came in dangling the keys since you unlocked the door and your purse plus you just stopped at the mailbox. So your hands are full of keys and purse or wallet and mail. And whenever you come in, you're looking for a place to drop those things immediately. They usually land on the first available horizontal surface, the table, a counter, a bookshelf. And then when you go to leave the next day, you can't find the keys. So this solution is easy. This is all part of the coming home routine that you can consistently do to make finding things easier the next time you go out. Find a place to park or hang those keys and the purse and the sunglasses close to the entrance. In theory, you don't need the keys until you go back out again, so they don't really have to wander into the house because you're not going to need them in the house. You're only going to need them when you leave the house again. So find some place nearby where you come in and immediately put those keys up. And here's where the sunglasses go because you're not wearing the sunglasses in the house. And you can park your purse too. Stop on the way in and deposit them, and then make a pass by the place where the mail is going to be parked or processed. You can either stand there and go through the mail to toss and recycle and shred what needs to be tossed or recycled or shredded. And then you can take the keepers to their parking space. So this is sort of the opening version of there's seeds of paper on the kitchen counter, or there's seeds of paper on the kitchen desk, or there's also in the entrance, if you come in the front door, there might be a table where you're throwing the mail, or there's a coffee table or a bookshelf or something when you first come in the house. You're seeing those piles as you shed coming home. You're shedding all the things you're carrying in with you. But this particular one, you need a system for the keys, you need a system for the purse, the sunglasses, and then you need a system for the mail. And so if you can't deal with it right that second, the mail, then it needs a parking space and you have to make a plan to circle back around and pick it up again and deal with it. So it's all part of coming home. And I do it every night, even though I come home from a client and I've just been decluttering for 3 hours and I have been cleaning somebody else's stuff and I'm exhausted, but I come home with my keys in my hand and my purse and my water bottle that I've had in the car and the mail that I picked up. And I come in and walk around and hang up the keys and put the purse on that chair. And I put the water, back into the kitchen because I'm going to refill it. And I'm carrying the mail around, and I stop near the trash can and throw. And then the mail that I'm going to keep here's my bill, here's my whatever. They all go in their places. And so basically it's me coming in the front door and wandering around the house, putting all these things away with a little bypass to the bathroom. Cause bathroom, every girl has to come home and get in the bathroom the first thing, but it's all part of the wander in process and coming home routine that I do without fail. Because if not, then when I am half asleep and starting my morning up again the next day, I am running around going, where's my water bottle? Where's the keys? And I just make my whole morning frantic. And so I'm doing it in service to my future morning self. And you can do it in service to yourself and your family as well.
Well, and you can modify that routine slightly as long as you still keep the essential parts of the habit in place. If you always have to head for the restroom first thing, that's fine. Put down the stuff that's in your hands, use the restroom, wash your hands, splash your face, get yourself a cool beverage or whatever you need to do to shake off the trip, and then get right to those things. Mm-hmm. Don't leave it for later. Don't leave it for the panic of the morning when you have to leave again.
Exactly. And, I know that Penny does it because she comes home and she's been running errands during the afternoon and it's super hot. So she comes home and sits down and tries to cool off before she starts running around. But then once, half an hour later, she's cool and she stands back up and she goes back in, deals with the groceries, puts away the shopping, parks her purse, gets out the, plugs in the iPad, whatever she needs to do to reset herself at home again. And so, and the same thing with the keys, like she goes and hangs the keys on the wall. So whatever your routine is, my point is really that coming through the door is not the end of the trip. There's always a little bit more you have to do to get to, I'm sitting on the couch now. And if you can do those things, you will make your life better on the front end. You'll make it easier for other people to come in behind you. You'll be able to find your keys or purse without any trouble. And it will be so worth the extra 5 or 10 minutes when you get home to make it happen. And so.
Well, and you won't get poked and annoyed by all that stuff that's in the way every time you come in.
Right.
A couple of people mentioned using their entrance as the staging area for things that are going out. Mm-hmm. Connie said, in our entrance, we have bags and boxes with things that have to go out, have to be taken somewhere else to donation, etc. I have it in our X room now. I'm not sure what that means. But our extra room.
Yeah.
But there, I forget to take stuff with me. Out of sight is out of mind.
I would put them in the room and put a sticky on the back door. Like for each thing that you need to deliver someplace, go put a sticky on the back door that is in your line of vision that says donation to Goodwill, return the casserole dish, whatever. So that when you do it, when you see the sticky, you can grab the sticky and go back and get the stuff and then go back out of the house again. So that each time you go past the door, you're looking at the trips that need to be done, the errands that need to be handled, and it'll be prompting for you. Particularly for people that are ADD, those things that are in your line of vision, stick them on the door so that when you open the door, the stickies are flapping in front of you. It helps people remember to do stuff in the moment when they're actually leaving. And the other alternative is instead of parking them in your guest room, you actually go put them in the car and then put the sticky in the house on the door, but the item's already loaded. And so you just say, okay, today I can go to Goodwill, and you pull that sticky off and take it into the car with you to remind you to go to Goodwill and drop off what's already in the car. Basically. Yeah. It also means that, the car can't hold an endless amount of things. So it prompts you to go more often, which is, it's easier to go more often and offload less things than it is to create an hour's worth of loading and unloading, that you wait until the exact right moment to send everything at once. It's like, don't be bothered, just make multiple trips. You're going to drive by that place a million times anyway. So you might as well drive by, spend 3 minutes, take the 2 bags out, get back in the car and go away. And it will empty your car out for the next load, the errand that you're going to put in the trunk. So don't leave it back there for 6 months. That's the only hang up about putting it in the car. You need to actually finally take it. Okay, so here's the next area. What about the bathroom? Let's talk about the bathroom. This is a busy daily use space and where a lot of product is employed. So the issue is you're doing all your personal grooming with all of its tools and products, and you're doing several tasks every single day. You're taking meds, there's makeup, you're doing hair, and you're managing your teeth and your face. These all get attention every day. That makes for a lot of product all over the place, especially the bathroom counter. And if you're someone who likes options or likes backups or extras, and you like being stocked up, you've got so many products all over the counter and in the drawers and under the cabinets. It's like an exploded drugstore in there. So the solution is you have to separate those products in current use from the products that are extras, the backups, the options that are not currently being used. Get those extras off the counter. Get some bins, sort by type, and park in the cabinet. These are the hair products. These are the face products. These are the meds. Get those extras off the counter and get them in containers. And then add some containers in the bathroom for your current daily use products, either in the drawers where you're storing them or on the counter, but corral those things. They need containing because they're always getting knocked over as you grab for the next thing. So keeping them together by category in a drawer or on the counter, on a counter in the bin, will make finding and using them so much easier. And then when you run out of something, you can go to your overstock bins for replacement to move up onto the counter. I think bathroom counters are an endless sea of disaster. And the less counter you have, the worse it is. And so some very careful planning about how much product. I think we add product a lot without filtering. We add meds a lot without filtering. We buy 47 new extra versions of body wash, shampoo. I've seen things lined up with 17 options for shampooing your hair, for instance, and it's all over the counter. And so when you go to Costco and you buy your favorite lotion and you get a pack of 12 in extra large size, you don't need all 12 of them on the counter. I'm just saying.
We have the teeny tiniest amount of bathroom counter space
ever.
No, not ever. I'm sure there are people who have it worse, but it's, maybe a square foot and a half, maybe that much. I don't know.
Woohoo.
So,
super generous.
Yes. But we've set aside for you in the guest room, a space where you can stage things. And Jaime probably even has something you can use as a caddy.
Oh, there we go.
If you don't have a hanging thing, you can unpack your stuff into something to come and go from the bathroom with.
From room to room. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's too much stuff on the counter. Lots of people have that problem. And I think the best thing to do is filter the contents, and then the stuff that you're currently using is on the counter and everything else is somewhere else. In the drawers or on the counter, and everything else is somewhere else.
Two common factors that keep coming out in the discussion of the problem spaces, and one is horizontal surfaces.
Yes.
Horizontal surfaces just attract the stuff.
Well, they just let it go without thinking.
Our brains we look at an empty horizontal surface and just go, oh, we can't allow that. We
must
leave.
cover it right now.
That can't be empty. I must stack things there. And then the second thing, besides horizontal surfaces, the second thing is, hidden spaces. If I just put that in there, it won't be a problem.
Put it behind the door and cover it up.
Yeah.
Lots of people do that for their own, like they want the visual and the countertop to be clear, but then they seriously stuff the places where they can close the door without thinking about actually using it. And it definitely creates a problem there. Okay, so issue number 2 in the bathroom that I wrote about was the shower or the tub is not a closet. It gets a lot of product shoved into it, but as you well know, it wasn't designed to hold that much stuff. So the solution is to pare down all that stuff in there. If you can, add an over the shower nozzle rack, something that hangs from the rack, that hangs off the nozzle that creates a little hanging rack for you, or a small standing rack in the corner of a shower if you can. This is not the place for 47 options to shampoo your hair with to live. Put 1 or 2 in there and then use them up before you try the next ones. And if you just can't take it, then make it a Sunday ritual to trade out the products every week so that you don't get bored with something. But don't leave all of that stuff on the edge of the tub or the shower. This is an example of everybody tries a bunch of shampoo product, body wash product, conditioner, whatever, and then you get 47 versions in there. And you try some and you don't like them, or you try a flavor, a smell, and you don't like it, but somehow it still stays in there anyway. And then you just keep adding more in, and then it becomes a huge, like you're swimming with a bunch of bottles. And I don't know about you, but if I turn around too much in the shower, things would be falling down if I didn't have them in a stand. I would be knocking stuff off all the time.
I have that problem when, if I take a towel large enough to dry me and then, extend my arms, things start falling.
Bang, 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 bang. I can see that coming right now.
Yeah.
True. And so we all like our variety and our options in the bathroom, and we all buy more than we can possibly use, right? We've had this discussion a million times. That one shampoo bottle is going to take you 3 months to use up. So the idea that you can use 17 flavors in 1 year is probably not realistic unless you are trading them out all the time. So A, don't add as many options in there. B, don't store them all inside the shower. And if you want to change the scents all the time, then, do it once a week, take out one bottle and put in a new one in the shower, but leave the volume in the shower to the bare minimum what you're actually using today. And, I always say, if you love having a variety, then stop buying full bottles and buy travel sizes of everything. And then it'll only take you a month to use the travel size one up, and you can have 2 or 3 scents in there at one time and be running out of them and refreshing them with new travel size scents instead. And so don't buy a 72-ounce bottle of something from Costco when you actually want 12-cent options to do your shampoo or to do your body wash. So just take your use patterns keep them in mind when you're buying, and figure out a way to trade them out so that they don't all live in the tub with you or in the shower with you, because they just don't fit and they create chaos and mildew underneath, and it's just a big old mess. So clean that up. That's what I'm saying. That's a good area to go.
Stephanie on Facebook makes a good point. She says, we need to train ourselves to only buy bathroom products when they're on our shopping list.
Because it's so useful, and everybody thinks, oh, look, a new scent, a new flavor of body wash. I'll try it. It's like, yeah, you've got 17 bottles at home already that you haven't used up. So maybe you should wait on that until you use up a few more. I have to tell you this. I have been thinking about this a lot. 3 months ago, I ran out of toothpaste, and I need to go buy another tube of toothpaste. And I thought, wait, I've got some travel ones. Of course, we haven't traveled for 18 months, right? So I have some travel ones, and I bet they're expiring. And so I went into my little bucket where the travel stuff was, and I pulled out 7 tubes of travel toothpaste that were all expiring or expired already. And I was like, fine, I'll just use the travel ones. So that was like 3 months ago, and I haven't run out of toothpaste yet. So I am like, it's already expired. I can't give it away with good conscience to somebody. So they're expired. They're cleaning my teeth. One of them tasted a little funny, like whatever the concoction was starting to, the flavor concoction was starting to turn. It still cleaned my teeth, but it had lost its original flavor. But I haven't had to go shopping for toothpaste for 3 months now, because I just keep using up more travel toothpastes. And so fine, they're working, and I don't have them in my hole. I don't have them in my, cabinet drawer with all of those swimming around waiting to die. And so I'm not wasting them, and I haven't bought any new toothpaste in forever. There you go. Do the same thing with shampoo and body wash. Make those products get used up.
Just a quick reminder to those who are with us live that we also have a YouTube channel with more than 170 videos on lots and lots of organizing topics. Visit cfhou.com/YouTube. While you're there, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon next to the subscribe button if you'd like to get notified when we post new content. I want to remind everyone that we'll be back next week, same time, Tuesday, August 17th at noon US Central Time, live in Zoom and streaming on Facebook. And Gayle and I will be in the same building, if not in the same room, since Gayle will be visiting. And we're going to talk about change. Change is inevitable, and changes in our lives and our habits can turn important stuff into clutter overnight. So for our next episode, we're going to examine how change impacts our relationship with our stuff. And we'll talk about how we might leverage the organizing process as a means to accept and adapt to change. We're calling this episode Winds of Change, Organizing as a Tool for Self-Reflection and Growth. Okay, let's get to the tittle.
Okay, so this week's tittle is Tackle a Trouble Spot. This week's assignment is to take a fresh look at the habits and routines that create clutter in your home in order to reduce the strain on one of your clutter hotspots. So identify an area or surface in your home that seems to be magically attracting clutter. Take a careful look at everything that's accumulated in that space right now. Remove any obvious trash, recycling, or items that are ready to go to donation, and then put these in the appropriate places to dispose of them. Then if there are items in your hotspot that have a proper storage place elsewhere, give some thought to how or why they ended up here instead of their regular storage space. Consider whether these items need to be assigned a better home, or if there's some kind of barrier to execution of getting it to the proper storage space. Maybe it's too hard to get to the storage space. Maybe the storage space is blocked. Figure out why the item is in your hotspot and not where it's supposed to be. For any item in your clutter trouble spot that doesn't have a proper storage space already, it's time to assign one. Think about where and how frequently you use the item, and then put it away in its new home. So focus your attention this week. Every time you find yourself ready to place an item in the hotspot, ask yourself, where does this really belong? Where should I really be parking it if I wasn't being distracted or tired or ready to sit down? The idea being that you can analyze your hotspot and find out what is contributing to it, what are the problem areas, what are the streams of stuff that are flowing into that hotspot that need to be managed or dealt with some other way. Figure out what they are and if you can solve the problem. And if you come up with an object that, or a stream of population that is messing up your hotspot, filling it up, and you don't know how to deal with it, come back and ask us about it. That's perfectly reasonable. Come and say, hey, I don't know what to do when blah, 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 blah. And so it all ends up on this counter because I don't know what to do with it. And let's talk about it and give you some ideas about how to fix it. But see what you can do for yourself this week, and then come back and talk to us about it.
I'm looking forward to hearing what people have to say about that one, because there are a lot more spots we didn't get to. There's, every home has its trouble horizontal surface or its trouble cabinet.
It has this magnetic zone that attracts things, and then they stick there hard. It's true.
Any horizontal space next to where I work becomes a problem spot for me. Mm-hmm. And
I have to clean it. When I sit down at the computer at night on the couch, I have to get up before I go to bed and unpack myself out of that area. I have to go put papers away and go throw things out and go, put the computer away. Like, I have to declutter the space where I've been sitting every night before I go to bed. And some people don't go through that process, and then they come back the next day and it's chaotic.
Okay, we are about out of time. So if you're watching this on YouTube, we would love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by going to cfhou.com/Facebook, or subscribe to our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe.
Subscribe.
We love to hear from you, so please send us your questions, comments, and topic suggestions on YouTube, on Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. And you can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
We can't wait for you to come and listen to us next week. We're glad you were here this week, and tune in to see Ed and I, and now visiting guest. The episode will be Hardy the dog.
Right.
So we get some dog time for on the Clutter Fairy Weekly next week, and we
Tomorrow,
hope to see you there.
Next week, instead of a cat, a 42-pound dog will walk across Gayle's shoulders.
There you go. All right, I'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.